This is the new Honda Civic Type R, as you can probably tell from the tremendously large rear wing and the fact that it looks like a selection of power bulges haphazardly applied to a vaguely Honda-shaped hatchback. The body itself has a longer wheelbase than the previous generation Civic, while relocating the fuel tank from beneath the front seats to beneath the rears means that the driver sits 50 mm lower than before. The center of gravity is lower overall, too. Some bonding rather than spot welding means the body in white is 16 kilograms lighter and 38% stiffer than the previous Civics, but the most significant mechanical change is that there's no longer a torsion beam rear axle. Instead, the latest Civic gets a fully independent, multi-link setup. The signs, however, are encouraging. Even sport mode seems largely comfortable. Firm and controlled, yes, but pliant with it. The fact that the Civic seats are both comfortable yet uncommonly supportive presumably helps, as does a driving position that is low-slung, with a hugely adjustable steering wheel and easily modulated pedals, and which should give Ford and Renault a benchmark next time they make a hot hatchback. Do you like your motoring cliches to suggest that the gear lever falls easily to hand? Well, it does that, too, topped with a cool, spherical knob. Anyway, the ride. It's controlled in sport, and I suspect for the most part you'd be inclined to leave it there. Select comfort and you can imagine that it all gets a little softer with a requisite loss of body control, fine around town or on a motorway but rarely strictly necessary. Flick the other way and it'll be too jittery for most roads, and the steering gains more weight again. The engine response ramps up too, as does the speed of the newly fitted auto blip system, which rev matches on downshifts to save you heel and towing. I quite like heel and towing, though, and you can turn the system off, but you can't do it while the car is moving because it's buried deep within Honda's summarily awful infotainment system. The driving controls are good, though. The steering is accurate, responsive and well-geared. As a result of that and the aerodynamics, the Civic Type R is an exceptionally stable car even above 150 miles per hour, a speed it reaches easily, given that it has that fulsome 316 bhp at 6,500 revolutions per minute, 295 pounds-foot from 2,500 to 4,500 revolutions per minute, and 7% shorter gearing than the previous Civic Type R. There's some turbo lag, of course. I can't imagine circumstances in which there wouldn't be, given that it has 158 bhp per liter. It's at its worst at low revs but hangs around through the mid-range a bit, too, to the extent that you sometimes have to preempt the moment you'd want to get back on the power, even on a circuit. On track, though, the Civic is exceptional. It feels keener, lighter and more agile than the Volkswagen Golf R or Ford Focus RS, which, at 1,380 kilograms at the curb and with only front-driven wheels, it should well do. But although it has mammoth amounts of power going through the front wheels, this isn't a car that forces you simply to manage where the front end goes. Changes Honda says it has made to the Type R's character include giving it more toe-in at the rear under braking, to enhance stability. But there's more engagement and involvement to it than that. There's more poise, and a tiny amount of adjustability on the throttle, albeit not as much as in the Renault Megane RS 275. In which lifting or trailing the throttle shifts the car's line immensely. The Civic, meanwhile, always remains secure. If I were to do a track day, I'd want to make my sessions short and take a torque wrench and trolley jack, to swap the 20 in fronts and rears around so I didn't muller the front pair in a day, but the Type R copes with hard throttle inputs remarkably well, given what Honda has asked it to do. In the just departed Civic Type R, Honda offered much of that performance but coupled it with an experience that was a bit wearing from day to day. This time around, though, with the addition of the comfort setting and a general reassessment of entirely how focused the Civic should feel in everyday driving, the Civic's appeal has been broadened. The beauty is that they've managed to do it without diluting the underlying appeal of a car that puts pace before pretty much everything else it does. So away from the all-wheel drive, all-weather mega hatches, the Honda Civic Type R remains alone, with a fundamentally appealing character unlike anyone else's hottest hatchbacks. And there's quite a lot to like about that.